be live on Facebook right now. And here we are on Facebook, and welcome to For Feck's Sake Marketing Adventures with Carmel, where we bring you tips, tricks and insights in how to market and sometimes how to get over some humps in your marketing for your business. But we also bring you some amazing people like I have with me today that are business owners and exceptional entrepreneurs, and at times have had hurdles that they have to get over, and we know that you have those kind of hurdles too. So we bring you these people to give you insights and show you that you're not alone, and yes, you can do it. So if you're watching me on Facebook, give me a like and a comment below. But if you're watching this on YouTube, perchance make sure that you subscribe and share with somebody else that you think will really benefit from this. So today we have the amazing Terri Adams Munn with us. And I've known Terri for, gosh, 2 years, is it? But
2.5 years, I reckon.
It feels like a lifetime. And
yep.
Terri and I connected a long time ago, even before we actually met each other. So we connected a bit online. We had a call. Then when we met face to face, it was like old friends catching up. And Terri, like myself, has been growing her business and has had ups, downs, sides, swags, and everything like all of us have. So Terri, tell us a little bit about who Terri is and what has brought Terri to where she is now in business.
Okay. Thank you. And it's so good to be able to chat with you, Carmel. We were just saying before, it's a long time since we've caught up because of the changes that's happened in our worlds. So who I am. So my business is 10,000 Dreams, as you can see up there. I started this a little over 3 years ago now. And it's come from a place where I've been involved in business my entire life. Like literally before I was born, my parents were a part of it. And as we were raised, we were encouraged to kind of run our own little micro businesses within the family business. So my family are a cattle family. I had my own cattle stud when I was a teenager. I've always had cattle at home. And we've been responsible for, the decisions around that, as well as taking ownership of the results from those decisions. So to me, it's kind of foreign to not be involved in business, if that makes any sense. So about 3 years ago, after some pretty heavy side swipes from the universe, I finally got 10,000 Dreams started. So I work within the coaching and mentoring space with people who are really unclear on where they're wanting to drive their life and their business, because any of us who have our own business, the reason we have that is so it can create for us the lifestyle that we want. And so many of us, if you're not actually truly clear on that, the results that we get from our businesses, are not necessarily the greatest. And whether that's financial or whether that's the impact on your relationships, there's a whole big web of things that are, interconnected. And so that's the stuff that I work with people around, is getting them really clear, because what I've found is that the more clear you are on the results that you're chasing, the more readily you will deal with the challenges that come your way, because we're all going to have challenges. But also too, when we make a decision and perhaps the results don't come out exactly as we want them to, or as we think that they will, then navigating that and how we move forwards from that becomes so much more easy to sort of stay the course, I guess. So
cool. So there's a big gap missing. From somebody who was doing the cattle to how the hell did you end up being in a business that is more about growing business and mentoring and coaching people in business? What was the catalyst that made you say, yes, this is what it is?
There's a bunch of things. So I've worked in probably 10 or 15 different industries across my adult life. I have been back home working on the farm, as well as doing other, I've done a degree in human movement studies where my focus was always on wellness. I've worked in the fitness industry as a trainer and programmer, and sales and reception and all sorts of things. I've worked in a ski area. I've done a bunch of different things. My thing is that my family, all the rest of my family, sorry, don't mind the movement. I'm just taking care of my dog. The joys of working from home. It's either that or she barks. So just, anyway, the rest of my brothers and my dad, ever from day one, they just wanted to be in and around the cattle industry. I love the cattle industry and I love the agricultural lifestyle. But it wasn't the only thing that I ever wanted to do. So I deliberately moved away from the family business, did my own thing, sort of pave my own way.
Yeah.
About 4 years ago, I was just mucking around on Instagram one day, and I was working with a group called Team 10,000, whom I still really appreciate, but I'm not so closely connected to them these days. And I started using this hashtag 10,000 Dreams project. I didn't know like this. So the 10,000 was initially, came from there. And I knew that I needed to get clearer on my own specific dreams because there were so many things. And so anyway, this hashtag, so if anybody, I'm not actually very active on Insta at the moment, but if anyone actually looks for 10,000 Dreams project as a hashtag, basically every single one of those posts is mine. And I had no idea, literally no idea as to what this was going to mean. I just knew that it was significant. About 6 months before I started working in this business, before I started my business, I was working for another business doing a phone sales. You'll enjoy this irony. I was doing a phone sales role for a video marketing company, right?
You can give me some more tips. It's going to work for me.
So the couple who ran that, she had come from a, TV director's kind of role, TV production sort of stuff, and was teaching people, and they still are doing this stuff. Anyway, I worked for them for a few months. I did a very bad job of it. I got fired very unceremoniously, and I seriously deserved it too. It was a bit of a shock to the system. Never been fired before in my life, but it was such a good thing. It was so good. Anyway, fast forward, like literally, that was on the Wednesday. I got fired. By Wednesday lunchtime, everything was done and dusted. Friday, I went to a workshop. The following Monday, I caught up with a friend of mine who couldn't make it to the workshop. It was about a whole different thing again, drop shipping. So I caught up with her on Monday, talked to her for 3 hours because, I'm like you, I can chat.
Underwater with a mouthful of marbles.
Absolutely. and mixed with cement. Like, it's just another challenge. So I was talking to her about all of this stuff, and we ended up in these big discussions about her business. And in that conversation, she turned to me and she literally said, I will never forget these words. She said, Terri, I've gotten more out of this conversation from you in the last 3 hours than I have from my business coach for the last 3 months. Will you be my business coach? And I'm like, right. Sure. It was literally like I had no idea how it was going to happen. I knew I wanted to get into the coaching space. I didn't have the confidence at the time to just, go ahead and launch. I needed that shove from the universe that Cassie gave me, and I am eternally grateful. She worked with me for a good 18 months or so. She's done amazing things with her business since then. And literally, like, we had that conversation. She finished up with her existing contract with the coach she had at the time. And a month later, 10,000 Dreams was born, and we started working together.
Wow. Awesome. So that was the catalyst. As you said, the universe hit you a bit of a smack in the backside.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting, as you say, because it's such an unconscious competence. You've been in business all your life, and without even realizing that your mom and dad have kind of made you do all these micro businesses. So that becomes an innate skill. So when somebody else hears and goes, oh my God, what help? Because I was born in a working class family, nothing wrong with that, but we were workers, and I became a worker because that's what you're told to do. So the time I was 14 to 15 when I had my first part-time job in the local hotel, and I ended up in hospitality all my life. So I never knew how this idea of owning your own business was always for somebody else. So it was a whole different transition to somebody who had a business acumen but didn't realize it because it was so unconscious.
Yeah. Oh, and that's seriously, it's been one of my biggest challenges, is because it's an unconscious competence. I've had to unpack and kind of reverse engineer it and understand what I know and understand that other people don't already know, because to me, it's just a part of my blood, and I know that sounds a little bit conceited, but it's just that we've come from a different background. I actually actively stayed away from running my own business for a long time because of the I wanted to be a parent who was very present and available for our kids. And I actively chose to not start a significant business when they were smaller because of the time commitment. And also too, cattle businesses, it's a 24/7, no matter what you do kind of thing.
I was going to say, is that because of what you had seen with your parents?
Yeah,
Did somehow
absolutely.
you feel that they weren't always present through no detriment, but they weren't because they were always working?
Well, it was, mum was always available, dad wasn't. And in our family, like with my husband and I, my husband has come from an employee worker background. He has no desire to have his own business. He supports what I do and is amazing. Like, I really appreciate who he is and what he's done. But if we ever started a business as a couple, it was always going to be me who drove it. And so I, because I wanted to be a mum who was available to, go to sports days and those sorts of things with our kids, I chose not to for a really long time. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you for sharing all that. Now, I know in part of your business, one of the things you do is and I know, like us all, we do a lot, but one of the pivotal things you do is vision workshops, vision board workshops. I missed a whole word out of that.
That's right.
And I've attended one of them as well. And it was awesome because you can attend it online. And I know you've done hybrids where it's in person and online and everything like that. What part do you feel that being able to put it on paper, albeit online on paper or physical paper, what part do you see that plays in really concreting and building a vision for people?
The thing I think that a lot of people forget about is that in the majority, there's very few people who don't actually fit into this, but most of us think in pictures. If I say to you, a red door, you get an image in your brain of a red door. Most people don't actually, some people will see the words red door, but the majority of us see an image of a red door in our mind's eye. Yeah. So when we're working towards goals for our life, for our business, for our relationships, for whatever it is that you're working towards, we see it in our mind's eye first as a physical image, and then we unpack to how we can go from there back to what we need to do in terms of our actions to go from where we are right now to what we can see and want to create. Yeah. And so the thing that happens in my experience with most people is that very few people take the time to actually create a physical representation of what it is that you're working towards first. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people will sit there and do a business plan and it's got all the numbers and all the, this is what we're going to do for marketing and this is what we're going to do for, staffing and all those other things, right? Overheads, etc. They'll put, profit and loss statements galore. But what does that actually mean for you as an individual in your life that you're creating, right? So that's the thing. Your business has been built to fund the life that you want. Most of us, a business is a part of our world, not our entire world. So when you create a dream board or a vision board that gives you that physical representation of the life that you're working on creating, it makes it easier to sort of stay the course, to keep it present, to make sure that vision that you're working towards and that goal that you're setting is actually relevant and will take you in the path that you want to go. And here's the thing, it will change. We are evolving as human beings all the time. I recommend that people revisit their vision boards or dream boards at least every 12 months. But also, yes.
I think I'm due a revisit.
I can help you with that next week. But it's really important because we change and evolve and grow as human beings, and what we're working on creating, it changes, and we kick goals. So if you've got a dream board that has got a whole heap of things on it that are things that you've already achieved, that becomes almost like a gratitude board, which is really important to be grateful for the journey that we've taken, but it's unlikely to be then as inspiring for you to help you to keep on progressing forwards.
And that makes absolute sense. And it also makes sense in terms of we have that RAS, our reticular activation system, which when it sees something, it's like when you suddenly buy a brand new car. You haven't seen any of these cars, you go, oh my God, that is amazing. Look at that car. And it's blue with pink polka dots. I don't know, whatever color it is. Well, how the reticular activation system works then is it goes, well, I have a visual of that. Let me go and get more evidence to prove that that's true. Yeah. And, and that's why we start saying, oh my God, every man and his dog seems to have one of these new cars that I thought was so special. And I think that's what happens with the vision board. I'm looking here because I have a second screen. I have the vision board on my screen. I made, as you know, a digital one. So I actually have the vision board, which looks quite conceited with me in the middle, but it's actually
it's really important.
I have it on my phone as well.
That's fantastic.
And it's actually been quite an unconscious driver as well as a conscious one. It was conscious while you're doing it. And every now and again, I find myself looking over to it. And one part of it, because I know you've a whole process behind it, which is amazing. But one part of it will jump out at me, which actually triggers and reminds me. And I'm looking at it now and going, yeah, that's improved. Yeah, that's changed. Yeah, that's on its way. I can see the steps on the way. And it's certainly on a conscious and unconscious level really does actually help you achieve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that so many people are unaware of how much our subconscious mind controls and dictates what we're actually doing and the results that we're getting. And so by having a dream board or vision board that's up there that is helping to direct you to where you want to go, it gets your subconscious mind to work for you rather than against you much more effectively.
That's why it brings that reticular activation system, because our brains are inherently, let's face it, they're inherently lazy. So if they can actually have something that becomes a habit, that becomes a routine, they'll take the shortcut. And you're right. I think it's some studies say it's 93% of what we do is actually unconscious. Because, and I used to laugh at that and go, what are you talking about? 97%? I'm not. And it's like, well, when did you last tell your blood to pump? You know, when did you last tell yourself to take a breath, which is probably more often than you've told your blood to pump? But it's rare. Like if you're somebody has their hand over your mouth, you're going to be gasping for breath. That's not a conscious thing. It's the mechanics of our whole body. When you think about it, and all that happens in there is actually all unconscious. And it's it's like that image of an iceberg, isn't it? With a little bit on the top and that big thing underneath. Yeah.
If you want to prove it to yourself, try brushing your teeth with the opposite hand.
Do you know what? It's so funny you say that. I did a whole 30-day spring challenge about 5 or 6 years ago. I had really long hair and all this, blah, blah. So every day I went live, and it was designed exactly for that, to change something. So the challenge was try and brush your teeth with a different hand. The next challenge was try and put a different foot in your other foot into your pants first in the morning. And it was, yes, unconscious, but it was also about the habits and the shortcuts that we make and break. Yeah. And people were going, I couldn't put my foot into the other pants. It's like, there you go. Because
by writing with the opposite hand.
Oh my God. It's just that we've got so accustomed to doing it. So I know I can vouch absolutely for your workshops. They're great. And as I say, I have a big, huge screen there that has it there. So definitely they are something that's amazing. So tell me about you and in business, what would you, how can I say it? How would you describe success? What is success to you is a better question.
My biggest thing for success, honestly, is a happy family.
And how do you define a happy family?
So for me, it's about, like I said before, the business is about, my business is about helping other people, but in terms of the benefit to me, it's about being able to be the parent that I want, be the wife that I want, be the human being that I want, the friend, the daughter, all of the things that, all those different hats that we all wear. Yeah. It's about being able to serve the people that I work with and help them, and also have the time and the energy and the resources to be present when my husband is home. My husband works away Monday to Friday, and he's usually only home on weekends. Yeah. So being able to, if I'm going to have a weekend activity of some sort, so there's a networking event or something that I'm going to, it's about checking in with him and going, okay, yes, it's going to work. No, it's not going to work. All that sort of stuff. And keeping that communication open and being respectful for each other and our, our individual needs, all that stuff. So that's and it's my, I can't control what they're doing. That's up to them, but I can control my role in those relationships. And so having the capacity to help other people and be that person that I want to be in amongst my family, as well as giving the creating that financial rewards out of the business, so that I can take some of the pressure off my husband. He has been our primary income earner in our family for many, many years. So being able to take that pressure off him so that he can have some more, feel as like he has more choices around what he does with work. That's the biggest stuff. And then there's a lot of other things that tie into it as well. It's about the example that we're setting to our children. It's about the legacy. Yeah, that's right. She's a great.
By the way, for those of you watching, her little dog is a bloody Great Dane.
Yeah, she's a big black Great Dane. She stands taller than my dining table, and she literally, that noise was just her shaking her head and flopping her ears.
Yeah, I know. That's okay. It's just for people watching. It's like, what the hell is that noise? It's not a little puppy.
Her name is Daisy. She's about 55 kilograms.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. She's a whole person. She's a whole person. So,
my 15-year-old son's only 60 kilograms.
Jeez. So when you started your business, it's always a challenge. We all know, as entrepreneurs, business owners, to start a business and get it out. The biggest thing that I hear is that it's okay being great, like you had your person say to you, oh my God, you're the best coach ever. But if nobody else knows, so where are some of the challenges that you've had in marketing your business?
My biggest challenge has been identifying what I know, like I said, that what I know that other people don't know yet. And because they're the people who don't know the stuff I do, they're the ones I can help. Obviously, I've walked that path. I'm a couple of steps ahead of them, and I'm happy to share that information so that they can, learn that as well and add that to their own skill set. So, because I've been through this whole process of unpacking all that stuff. That's been my biggest challenge, is finding the right words to find the right people. Your message about right person, right message, right time. Knowing my message has been such a challenge. And even just this last weekend. So I've just been away. I just ran a mini retreat called a GSD Getaway, where a bunch of people went away specifically to work on our businesses across the weekend. And while I was away, one of the ladies there did this really big unpack with me, which I was really, it was kind of like the stuff I've done with you and Sarah. So she unpacked
with you, or you unpacked with her?
No, she helped me to unpack stuff of mine.
Okay.
And it was similar to what you and Sarah did, but just in a different way, kind of thing. And we looked at the avatar that I've been working with and figured that I actually really need to shift that by about 10 years because of the difference in the connection with who I am now as a business owner, and also where they are in terms of the stage of life that my ideal clients are at. And their availability for being ready for change, being able to invest in themselves and their business, having that, I guess, additional level of almost freedom that comes with having kids that are a little bit older, all those sorts of things. So,
and I love that you brought that up, because, as you know, avatar / ideal client is one of my favorite topics. But what people think they need to have it perfect. But what I've discovered, similar to yourself, the avatar I thought I had, it's not so much she has evolved. I've evolved in how specific I know I am in who I can help. So, a brand new business owner that has no idea and just wants to start with ideas, that's not really my ideal client. My ideal client is somebody who is already in business or has had a sideline business for a good while and can't get their message out. So therefore we do that by lots of different ways. But exactly that is honed over the time. If you had asked me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, was that my client? It's like, no, not quite, but it gets honed and honed. So for anyone that's listening, please know, if you don't have your ideal client or avatar perfect in the first instance, it does evolve and grow as you learn more and you niche down even more in what you do. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's so, it's interesting to watch the evolution. But what I find, seeing how this stuff has just shifted with me, like I said, because of this unpack on the weekend. And it was sort of bubbling there, and I just knew something wasn't sitting right, but I hadn't spent the time focusing on it. So it's not like it's a, oh my goodness, I'm suddenly going to change direction. It's been an evolution, and now like the penny's dropped into place kind of thing.
Yes. And that's what happens. Sometimes the penny hasn't dropped, but you don't know it hasn't dropped until it drops. Yeah,
exactly. Right. But what I find really interesting, sorry, just listening to the noises and watching your reaction. I'm sorry. Obviously, you've got stuff happening there too.
No, yeah, there was a door or something in the background, and I'm like internally screaming, going, "Please be quiet."
This is live. This is live.
This is what happens live.
Yeah, exactly. You know, what I find really interesting now, and like literally, like I said, this has shifted for me in the last week, is that what I find really fascinating is that I, as an individual, expected it to stay the same. Why? Change is the only thing that is always going to happen. So why would I expect that to stay the same?
It's always, I love that as well. It's also that I think you think it's this, so you go out and you try it. Mm-hmm. And then you go, well, it was this part of it, but this part of it didn't really work. So I'll go with this. And that's what niche actually is. It's like, okay, it's like us, as you know, our journey, you've been on some of our journey. Like I didn't know I was going to actually really niche down even more into video like a few years ago. Yeah. I didn't know that that's where it was going to go. But as we were going and teaching people, we realized, well, hang on, video is the way to go. Video is getting more popular. Video is getting more attention. Yeah. We know a bit of video. Maybe we can help these people with it. So it has changed, but I think you have to start somewhere. So you have to start with an idea of who you have and the kind of problem that you can solve and see, does it work? Then you have to do the test and measure. And I think that's what people forget sometimes is, it's like, you have to do the work. The work just doesn't get done without you.
Absolutely. And honestly, the power in what you do and what you and Sarah do is because you've got that really strong avatar, copywriting, messaging background, then when you go into video, it's not that you're just teaching video, but it's teaching video that's on message, on point with getting the right information out to people. You know, that's gold.
Yeah, and so many people were scared of, and look, it's true, I know it took me 27 hours to make my first, because I went out and I recorded it and I brought it home and I edited it and blah, blah, blah. And that is friggin' overwhelming. I remember, short story, walking through the city, we had to walk somewhere, it was a really hot day, and I had my video camera on my shoulder, because that's what you do, still on the tripod. And there was somebody filming something for TV outside the courthouse or something. And I could see them in the distance, and I thought, I'm going to look like a paparazzi. No, I didn't. I had a camera this size. I did these big huge things. I was proud of myself thinking of it. But the fact is that gets overwhelming, all of that equipment. And that's why we started saying, well, hang on a minute. How can we help people do it without having to do that? And that's, as you know, one of the areas that we teach is how to do it, that you can get pre-made templates, you can get lots of things like that, make a flip, you can put your voice over, you can put yourself on it, you can do whatever within friggin' an eighth of the time. So that's the whole thing behind it, because it shouldn't be the technical stuff that is stopping you getting your message out to people, because it's important to get your message out. The people that you can help cannot see or hear you if you don't freaking talk to them and tell them how they can contact you or get you to help them.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool.
Absolutely.
And how important are you finding using any kind of video in your business and marketing?
Right now, I'm not using video as much as I should.
and no, I pause you there for a second and ask you, not because I'm on the call, but what makes you say as much as I should? What is it, the outside influences that make you think you should be doing video?
Because I know how powerful it is and I'm not using it a great deal at the moment. So my VA, Mitch, who is amazing, is doing some of that stuff for me, but I haven't invested enough in that to make that more effective. So at the moment, any video that I'm using, honestly, I'm really reliant on Facebook Lives in terms of having any kind of video-based interaction with people. And it's one of those things that right now, the last couple of months, there's been this whole perfect storm happen where I've been significantly overwhelmed.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to pause you for a second. Overwhelmed. That people have an illusion when somebody else is successful or they see them ahead of them, that they don't go into these dips of overwhelm.
Oh man.
And like you're giggling about it. So you obviously have some kind of strategy of how to get past that overwhelm or how to sit in it and sit in that discomfort. What is the strategy around that?
For me, it's about prioritizing what's the most important. So to give you a little bit of context, I ran the weekend that's just gone, the GSD Getaway. That was actually originally planned back in June. And we've had 4 postponements that landed on the first weekend, like the last weekend in September,
because
sorry.
These external things.
Yes. Anyway, it is what it is. I've just this month kicked over 2 years of running my group. So I had a bit of a promo happening around that. I've got a workshop happening in a week's time. And then at the end of this month, so like 23 or something days from today, I'm going away to run my first ever retreat, which is a 3-day deep dive into dream boards. And so it's a little bit like the dream board workshop, but, expanded across 3 days with experiences and stuff tied in. And so for me, I've been working towards that for 2 years in terms of actually being able to run it. And now it's happening. So that's all happening. And then, so that was already going to be busy. And then I was really fortunate and got myself a grant from the Queensland government. So I'm now in the process of developing a new website and starting another, setting up the framework to be able to start an additional arm to my business.
I love all that because this is the life of a business owner / entrepreneur. Yeah. People think, oh, look, she's out having fun. She's doing whatever. But there is that element, but there's also the work is being done in the background. And absolutely can often, but when you know that that's a normal part of it, it becomes, okay, I just got to get through this. What's most important, and I think trusting that you will get through it is really important. Yeah.
One of the things that I find really useful is that whole, I just kind of do it automatically now. So excuse me while I slowly unpack this, but this whole thing about...
It's like you're blessing me or something. Just I forgive you, my daughter. What have I done?
You know where you've got the urgent, not urgent, important, not important, and we prioritize into 4 different sections. Yeah, and the not important, not urgent becomes trivia, and that just all gets, delegated, or you don't mind the dog. That gets delegated or dropped, right?
Yeah.
So I've had to really consciously focus on that and focus on what's the next most important thing. Yeah. What else has got to be done that has to happen today that cannot be put off until tomorrow? So that, and honestly, right now I am running in this whole very urgent, very important space, which I'm not loving because I've been there for a while, but that's the nature of the overwhelm. It is that I've got to get it done. We all know that we're far more productive if it's not urgent, but is highly important. That's the much better space to be working. Right now, that sounds like a luxury to live in that space, and I'll get there eventually.
But you know that there are times that you flip from one space to the other. Absolutely. And I think also that there's a trust in yourself. To know that I've got this. Yeah, it's overwhelming, and oh my God, I have a laugh about it. I don't know whether it's a Martha or a Martha, but I know that tomorrow, the next day, next week, it'll be okay because this is going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's a big difference from some people that, through no fault of their own, but they don't deal with overwhelm very well. They go overwhelmed, and what happens is, it's a topic I've talked about the last couple of weeks, was they get to burnout.
Yeah.
There has to be a time that in that important urgent becomes my self-care, because if it doesn't, well, the whole thing doesn't bloody work without you.
Absolutely. I came home from my weekend and slept until midday on Monday.
Yeah. It's important to allow yourself to do that.
Absolutely, because at that point on Monday, that was the most urgent and most important thing that needed to be done, is my body needed rest. And so, that's sometimes it's about that understanding of what you need as a human being, as well as what you need as a business owner, and all those other things. Because if you don't, sort of remain conscious and aware of those things, or become aware of those things, burnout happens very easily, very easily. Yeah.
And in the times that you're not doing overwhelm,
Mm-hmm.
how do you still use that kind of quadrant, or what are your success habits around keeping going and keeping business moving?
Yeah, look, using that as a sort of there's a lot of stuff that I still need to unpack out of my head, because having run this business by myself, and like I said, coming from an unconscious competent sort of perspective, I just do stuff, right? And so I am still working on that process of unpacking that, putting more things into different platforms like Airtable and Asana and all those other sorts of programs that are available. One of my big things, honestly, really big, was about getting out of I've got this amazing paper planner that I have, like paper-based planner that I have created, and I seriously love it. My problem with it, though, was that when I started with my VA and when I started using Calendly for people, I couldn't share it. So so what I've done, and I'm like, it's kind of like, the pendulum swings. So right now I've gone right away from that planner and come back, and I'm using Google Calendar to manage my time, so that then Calendly can be shared and all those other things. However, in doing that, my to-do lists are getting messy, and I'm starting to miss things. So I've got to come back to settling in the middle, where I do a bit of a blend of both, because I love to brainstorm onto paper. And also that whole process of going through, having a to-do list, tick it off, get that little endorphin rush. That's a really good thing. And my planner has a bullet journal section to it, where you can, I categorize things according to whether they are business or personal things that need to be done. And when they're done, I tick them. And when they're not done, I cross them off, and I put them in I move them to another week. And not necessarily the next week either, because that's not very nice to yourself to overload yourself before you even start the week.
Yeah.
So,
but it's still kind of unconsciously going into that important, urgent, or
absolutely.
Yeah. And there is actual psychological studies and proof that the fact of even if you just go in your head, that actual action of taking something off is a psychological, it's okay, I've got it done. So absolutely. What I've done this week is I've actually started a time audit, because like that you go, why am I feeling that everything's so busy? So I've literally, without judgment, I've audited my time to see where are the gaps, where am I distracting myself, not as a punishment, but just to see. And it's actually been quite enlightening. When I think I'm really, really busy, I'm distracting myself half the time. So I could actually go, okay. Well, one thing that really showed up for me in it was when I focused on one thing, because I knew I was timing myself, I got it done in half the time. Half the time. This is the illusion, because you're a bit like me. We try and do that and that and that and that at the same time. But when I say switching everything else off, I'm just doing this. The thing I think that's going to take 3 hours takes me 1. So it's a practice, but nobody's perfect, and we don't have to have it perfect. And I'm just aware of the time. God, I know we could talk for ages. So I have one last question I want to ask you that I always ask my guests. Some people go, holy guacamole, and other people answer it straight away, and that's fine either way. If you weren't doing what it is you're doing now, what would you be doing instead?
Renovating houses. Literally, I looked at doing that business. I wanted to run a startup. Before I started this business, one of the options that I looked at was starting a business where I coordinated renovations for people. And so
as a project manager kind of
so being the go-between between, like, I'm not a builder, I don't have that background, I just have a love for that sort of stuff, and I want to be able to do more of it, and I haven't done that yet. So but to be the go-between who then coordinates so that we can bring all the tradies in. I'm doing some renos here at the moment, and like one tradie wants to come, and then the next one comes after, and the next one comes after. And, like, I've just had the back of my yard ripped up to replace the septic, and the concreter wouldn't even come for a quote until that had been done. And I'm like, seriously, come and have a look. I just want it done so I can, like, it's time efficient. Let's get, when the septic was done, there was like 15 people here for the day, and it was amazing because I only went without use of my toilet for like 8 hours, which was phenomenal. You know, most
Yeah.
people it would take a week. You know, so that style of work is what I would love to be able to do. And that's
Okay.
what I would be doing. I chose to not do that initially because of the time issues, that like I didn't have the time to invest in that because of our kids back then.
Yeah.
And now I don't, because I've had some physical challenges come up with my health. I don't have the physical capacity to do that, but I would find a way, I think, to just renovate houses if I didn't have to do this, if I wasn't
Cool.
doing it.
It's the answer to that question is always fascinating because you get insights into people. So amazing. Terri, I'll make sure that we put your contact details in the comments under these videos if people would like to get in contact with you. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we do have to catch up, and I know I have to do the workshop. But in the meantime, that's it. So it's bye from me.
Thanks so much. See ya.